All right, so are you ready for a deep dive? That's, well, a little bit different. This time we're looking at something called Empire Down, and it's definitely not like any album I've ever heard before.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you'd hear on the radio.
So imagine this, someone takes like a 30-second sound. It could be anything like a bird chirping or a car horn and uses it to create a 6-hour symphony.
Wow.
That's essentially what happened here, and the composer is an AI.
And the craziest part is they didn't use some fancy studio or a team of producers or anything like that. They just used this website called Suno.com. Yeah,
Suno.com.
it's like this online platform for making music with AI. You can upload any sound, and the AI takes over and creates these wild sonic landscapes. It's really cool.
So the source for this deep dive comes from TATANKA, that group that's all about music and social impact. They were the ones who fed this 30-second sound clip to the AI on Suno.com, and the AI just went nuts. It actually generated 118 different generations of music.
It's like imagine the AI is a student composer, and every generation is like a practice session where it gets closer and closer to the style it learned from that initial sound clip. I mean, to think it created 6 hours and 42 minutes of music. That's insane.
Yeah, and we're not talking about someone coming in and editing or polishing this AI creation. It's raw, unfiltered output. Like, they just hit the generate button and said, here you go, world. Let's see what you make of this.
It's definitely a bold statement about the future of AI in music.
Yeah.
It's not just like adding a beat or a synth line here and there.
Yeah.
This is composing an entire sonic experience from scratch.
So let's talk about Empire Down itself. It's been described as industrial and cinematic, like think abandoned factories, futuristic decay, that kind of vibe. But is it even music? I mean, it's a sound, it's an experience, but can we really call it music?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? It's unconventional. There's no doubt about that the soundscape is full of these distorted metallic sounds, echoing groans, deep, unsettling reverberations. It's very different from what we're used to.
Yeah, there are definitely no catchy hooks here. And get this, the AI even generated lyrics for this thing.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I'll admit, they're not exactly, Taylor Swift level songwriting. It's more like these repetitive minimalist phrases like salvation for the monsters and in the fields of regret. Those are a couple that stuck with me.
It's interesting because those lyrics, combined with the overall sound, they create this eerie, almost dystopian atmosphere. It's like listening to a soundtrack for a movie about the end of the world, a movie you haven't even seen yet.
It definitely has that unsettling vibe to it. But here's what I'm struggling with. People say that this AI-generated music evokes emotion. But how can something that doesn't have feelings create something that makes me feel something?
That is a good question. Well, think about film scores. Even though they're composed by humans, they can still make you feel a certain way, right? And a lot of those scores use very similar techniques to Empire Down, like dissonance, tension, and unusual sounds, to create very specific moods.
So you're saying that the emotion doesn't necessarily have to come from the composer themselves, but it can come from like the way the sounds are put together, the context.
Exactly. And in Empire Down, that context is this really bleak, dystopian world that the AI has built through the sounds and the lyrics. The emotion, like that unsettling feeling you get, it emerges from that sonic environment.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get it, but then wouldn't that mean that any sound, as long as it's arranged in a specific way, could be considered music? I mean, what's stopping someone from taking the sound of a jackhammer and calling it a symphony?
Well, now that's where things start to get interesting. Empire Down is making us rethink what we consider to be music.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not just about melody and harmony anymore. Maybe it's about the overall experience, the emotions it evokes, the questions it raises.
So what does all of this mean for, actual musicians? Are we all going to be replaced by robots with sound libraries?
Well, Will.i.am had a good quote about this. He said that AI doesn't replace creativity. It enhances it by opening new avenues for artistic expression. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. AI has the potential to be an incredible tool that can help musicians generate ideas, explore new sounds.
But isn't there a risk that, we'll become too reliant on AI? What if musicians become so dependent on it that their own creativity suffers? Do we lose something essential when we hand over the reins to a machine?
That's a really valid concern. It's a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
How do we embrace all of the amazing possibilities of AI without sacrificing the human element, the heart and soul that makes music so powerful?
That is a huge question, and it's one that we're going to keep unpacking as we delve deeper into Empire Down and the future of music in the age of AI.
I think it's important to remember that Empire Down is a very extreme example.
Right. It's like they really wanted to push the boundaries of what AI could do.
Exactly. It's not like, every song in the future is going to be 6 hours long and composed by a computer.
So what does a more realistic future look like? Are we all going to have AI songwriting partners?
Maybe not partners, but collaborators.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a musician using AI to, help them come up with a melody or a chord progression. And then they take that raw material and they shape it. They add their own style, their own emotion, their own human touch,
So the AI becomes like a high-tech instrument.
Yeah, I like that analogy. It's a tool that can help musicians break through creative blocks, experiment with new sounds, maybe even discover entirely new genres that we haven't even imagined yet.
That's actually pretty exciting. It's like AI is opening up this whole new world of possibilities in music.
And it's not just about the creation process either. AI could also change the way we consume music. Imagine a streaming service that uses AI to create a custom soundtrack for your day based on your mood, your activity, even the weather outside.
Wow, so like a personalized AI DJ in my pocket. That's kind of cool.
And a little bit creepy, right? It definitely raises some questions about privacy and control, like who owns the rights to AI-generated music? What if an AI creates a hit song that sounds suspiciously similar to an existing track?
It's a legal and ethical minefield. And it's all happening so fast. I mean, a few years ago, the idea of AI composing music seemed like science fiction, and now it's a reality.
And it's only going to get more and more complex. As AI technology keeps evolving, the lines between human and machine creativity are going to get increasingly blurred.
So what does this mean for our listeners? Why should they care about any of this?
Well, for starters, I think it's just fascinating to think about how technology is changing the way we create and experience art. But on a deeper level, it's about being aware of the potential impact AI is going to have on our lives.
Right. This isn't just about music. It's about the future of creativity itself. And it's about, asking ourselves some tough questions about what it means to be human in a world where machines can create things that were once thought to be uniquely human.
And maybe, just maybe, by exploring these questions, we can learn something new about ourselves, about our own creativity, and about the power of music to connect us, even in the face of all this technological disruption.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the big picture, the more theoretical side of AI music, but let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. What about Empire Down itself? What's it actually like to listen to this 6-hour behemoth?
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a challenging listen. It's not something you just put on in the background while you're cooking dinner. It demands your attention.
So what does it sound like? Can you give us like a little taste?
Well, there's this one section about an hour in that I find really intriguing. It starts with this low rumbling drone, almost like an earthquake in slow motion. And then these metallic clangs start to emerge, like giant gears grinding against each other.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is. And then just when you think it's going to completely explode, it shifts. The clanging fades away, and this ethereal melody emerges. It's almost like a choir of robots singing from some distant future.
Wow, that sounds like quite a journey.
And that's just one tiny little section of a much larger piece. Empire Down is full of these unexpected twists and turns. It's a sonic labyrinth that keeps you guessing the whole time.
So it's not just, noise for the sake of noise. There's actually some kind of structure to it.
There is an underlying structure, but it's not always obvious. It's like the AI is playing with our expectations, challenging our traditional notions of what music should be.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but 6 hours is a long time. What would you say to someone who's maybe on the fence about listening to the whole thing?
I'd say approach it like an adventure. Don't try to listen to it all at once. Dip in and out, explore different sections, see what resonates with you.
I like that. That's good advice. It's like exploring a vast, uncharted territory. You don't have to conquer the whole thing in one go. You can take your time, savor the journey, and discover your own personal landmarks along the way.
And you might just come out the other side with a whole new perspective on what music can be.
So we've talked about the creative process, the ethical implications, the listening experience of AI-generated music. But there's this one big question that we haven't really addressed yet. It's the elephant in the room, so to speak.
The question of whether AI can truly be creative.
Exactly. Can a machine something without emotions or experiences really create art that moves us, that inspires us, that makes us think?
It's a question that philosophers and artists have been debating for centuries. And it becomes even more complex when you throw AI into the mix.
Because on the one hand, you have people who say that creativity is inherently human. It requires a certain level of consciousness and understanding that machines just don't possess.
And on the other hand, you have people who point to all the incredible things that AI is already capable of doing, things that we once thought were the exclusive domain of human ingenuity.
Like composing a 6-hour symphony from a 30-second sound clip.
Exactly. So where does that leave us? Are we willing to accept that AI can be creative even if we don't fully understand how or why?
Or are we holding on to this romantic notion of human creativity that's no longer relevant in a world where machines are becoming so sophisticated?
These are tough questions, and there are no easy answers. But I do think it's incredibly important to have these conversations, to really grapple with these ideas and to keep an open mind about the possibilities of AI.
Because the future of creativity isn't about humans versus machines. It's about finding ways for humans and machines to collaborate, to push each other to new heights and create something truly extraordinary.
Who knows, maybe in the process we'll learn something about ourselves, about our own creativity, and about the very nature of art itself.
So where does all of this leave us with Empire Down? You know, it's this strange, unsettling 6-hour AI soundscape, but it's making us ask all these big questions about art and creativity and what it all means.
It really throws a wrench in our understanding of what music can be.
It does, and maybe that's the point, right? It's like Empire Down is an invitation to kind of rethink everything we thought we knew.
To really expand our definition of music, to think about the role of AI in the creative process, and maybe even to question what it even means to be human in a world where machines can make art.
Yeah, because if an AI can create something that sparks this much debate and conversation, that makes us actually feel something, even if it's unsettling, doesn't that kind of make it art?
I think it does. And it challenges us to look at art not just as something that's, beautiful or pleasing, but also as something that provokes us, that maybe makes us a little bit uncomfortable, that forces us to confront our own assumptions about what art should be.
I'm still grappling with the idea that something without feelings or experiences can create something so emotionally charged. It's almost like magic,
Maybe it is a kind of magic. The magic of algorithms and data, transformed into something that actually speaks to our human souls, even if we don't totally understand how it all works.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. So what now? Where do we go from here? Do we embrace AI as this new creative force, or do we resist it?
I don't think it's about embracing or resisting, really. I think it's more about understanding, about exploring both the possibilities and the limitations of AI, and, finding ways to use it in a way that enhances our own creativity, not diminishes it.
It's like we're standing at the edge of this totally new frontier, and we have a choice to make. Do we venture out into the unknown, or do we play it safe and stay in familiar territory?
And the choice is ours. But I really hope we choose to explore, because who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting for us on the other side.
Well said. So, to our listener, if you're feeling brave, I highly encourage you to check out Empire Down. It's definitely not an easy listen, but it is incredibly thought-provoking. It might make you a little uncomfortable, maybe even scare you a bit.
But it also might inspire you. It might open up your mind to some new possibilities.
Yeah.
It might even completely change the way you think about music and art and creativity itself.
And isn't that what a good deep dive is supposed to do? Challenge our perspectives and leave us with more questions than answers.
Absolutely. So go forth, dear listener, and explore the crazy world of Empire Down. See where it takes you.
Who knows? Maybe you'll discover something amazing. Until next time, keep diving deep.